What is up, my hunting brothers and sisters? Today, I'm going to give you my final review on the 4th Arrow 3.0 system after an entire year of hunting and filming with this setup. So stay tuned. All right, so this is I believe my 5th video on the 4th Arrow 3.0 arm and Talon Base system. And so here we are, it's late January here in Indiana, and I hunted with this setup the entire deer season in Indiana, which for me started on September 15th, and I hunted all the way through the end of December, when I called it quits, which was almost at the end of our regular season. We have a reduction zone season that's still going, but I'm done. I will say that this system here, I set up and hunted in excess of 50 sets this season and used this the entire season. And I can talk about all the pros and cons, which I'm going to here in a second. So my point is, there were a lot of setups with this system, and I saw everything from the good to the bad. I did film 4 deer kills using this system, 3 of which were self-filmed. A doe and 2 bucks that I killed were all using this. One was on the ground, but I was using this on a tree I was sitting next to, and then I filmed my daughter killing a buck also in late December, all with this system. So there's a lot of experience in this system. I've been filming hunts for over 10 years now, and I've owned every version of the 4th Arrow system, from the 1.0, the 2.0, different arm configurations, and now the 3.0 system. So again, I'm gonna put links in the description to the other videos that I did on this system as I led into season. But I've had a lot of people say, well, what do you think of it now that you've hunted a whole season? Go over the pros and cons, go over the modifications, because I have modified this system to make it work what I feel is reasonably well. So let's first talk about, before we go into the bases, because I'm sitting here staring at it, I want to talk about one pet peeve that I had with this system, and that is, this is the shoulder and this is my triple arm. And this black thing is not supposed to be on the triple arm. This is actually supposed to be in the shoulder, and that's how it comes, as in the shoulder. And when you pull it out, the black piece is supposed to stay in there. That lasted all of maybe a month, and next thing I know, the black piece now stays on the arm. Now, I believe it's just, this is like probably a Delron type of nylon plasticky material, and I believe it's supposed to be epoxied in there, and I never did epoxy it in because it wasn't the end of the world, but it was an annoyance that it now stays on this rather than this. And I can pull it off of here. I could epoxy it in, but I left it. But still, I think that's pretty, I don't think that's pretty good as far as the design goes, that this is going to come out of this all the time. And if I wanted to go, say, from a regular triple arm to, say, their smaller saddle size triple arm, I'm going to have to remember to pull this off of here or epoxy it in or whatever. I will say that from a support standpoint, 4th Arrow, and this has always been my history with 4th Arrow, there is no support from 4th Arrow. I've reached out to them multiple times on many issues, including the Rex arm that I'm filming on right now that's not at a 90-degree angle, and I've either gotten no answers or I've gotten answers that were unsatisfactory. So, you know, I'm hard on 4th Arrow because I'm an engineer and I look at this as intriguing products, and I feel as though they're under-engineered, or they were so close to being right and then the ball was dropped. And this is one area, in my opinion, where the ball was dropped. Overall, I do like the triple arm. I saddle hunted a lot this year, and I found at times it was wonderful and sometimes it was too long, which they make the shorter saddle version of the triple arm now. And I may pick one of those up for next year because I'm probably going to continue hunting with this, even though I don't have all warm and fuzzies, but I've heavily modified this system. So we're going to talk about that. All right, so let's talk about one of the big selling points to the new 3.0 system, and that's their Talon Base that attaches to the shoulder and folds up. I ran this for a little while. I disconnected it, and I'm not going to put it back on. And I know that there's some guys that love this. I'll explain why I did not like this. It is convenient when it's on and it's folded up. You don't have these barbs the Talon hook sticking you in your pocket or in your bag or whatever. That is kind of a neat feature. What I ran into, and I had to really tighten these things down, and they still did it, was when you put it on the tree and you run their ratchet straps, which is a whole nother issue we're going to talk about here in a second. When you run their ratchet straps through it, and this is all bolted on here, and you're ratcheting down, if, like this is a prime example of a tree, this has got some deep bark in it, and so you can never get all four in the same spot, and you start ratcheting down, it wants to roll this thing, and when it does, it puts enough side torque on these will actually fold up. And somebody's going to say, no, I'm crazy, you don't know what you're doing. I know what I'm doing. I hunted a lot with this, and I tried it. I gave it as much fair chance as I could, and they folded up, and I got so angry. I said, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm not using this part anymore. I took it off. It's done. So I don't like that system. If you do, that's awesome. But for me, it did not work at all. I did not like it. So let's talk about some of the other base options that you have. So what I have here is their permanent base that you would put in, say, a hang-on stand, and you can buy multiples of these and put them in different trees. Now, I've modified this one as well, but I ended up liking these bases a lot better because they do have fixed stands where they could go and I could leave them in a tree. Now, I did a video on how I modded this because the ratchet straps suck. They absolutely are terrible. They're 1 inch wide. I have one here in my pocket, I believe. Grab it out. Right here it is. They're really, really flimsy as far as the handle goes and their weight ratings and all that. It's just cheap. I did a whole video on going to a 2-inch ratchet strap and how they only cost a couple dollars more to actually do with a 2-inch ratchet strap. I don't know why Fourth Arrow wouldn't do that, and how to modify the slot to adapt to the 2-inch ratchet strap. But I ended up liking these because I can really get them to bite into the tree square with that bigger ratchet strap and everything. It was great. And then once it's ratcheted to this tree, I have my shoulder, which just drops in and I attach. That's awesome for guys that have tree stands that are already in fixed positions and all that. But so much now, there's so much focus on run and gun hunting and being mobile, whether it's saddle hunting or just bouncing around with lightweight stands on public land, private land, whatever, that really doesn't work well in this situation. Who wants to carry all this around with the ratchet strap and stuff? And I get it. In fact, I saddle hunted probably over 50% of my time this year on private land, and I loved it. I love being mobile, being able to move 50 yards. This doesn't work with that, but it does work in my other stands. So what did I end up doing? Here, I'll show you that. All right, so for me, for being mobile, I had an A and a B system. A is a 1.0, was I took their fixed position bases, which I bought like a dozen of them when I bought into their whole system here. And I went and got, I can't remember, there's some online wholesaler that does a lot of saddle components. I don't remember the name of them, but this is like a cam over strap system. And this is a 1-inch. And this was a huge improvement for being mobile for me. And I took a file on the end of these so they're not quite as sharp, and then I could just wrap this thing all up and it just stuffed easily on my pocket. So then I basically have a 3-part system when I get to the tree. I attach this to the tree, I cam it over quietly, then I put on the shoulder, then I put on the arm. It worked, but again, one of the things I go back to, and it goes back to that 2-inch strap on the other setup, is a 1-inch strap is not secure enough for these bases to take the bounce off. If you're going to try and be light and everything, I guess this is definitely an improvement. I would use this over the ratchet strap that they supply, but it's just, I don't know. It wasn't secure enough for me. It may be for a lot of guys. Maybe I'm just overly particular. So I had a B version of that, and the B version is a 1.5" / 2-inch cam over system. And this I actually bought from the guys from Out on a Limb. They make their own camera arm systems, very nice systems. And I bought this from their website. It's a 2-inch strap with a buckle, and it comes with a 2-inch strap, but it's really short. And then they sell an extended strap, but that's only 1.5" wide. That doesn't make sense to me. But it is what it is. And I found that this is a lot more secure than the 1 inch. It's a nice compromise. I do wish this was 2 inch, and maybe this year in the off season, I'll find a 2 inch version of the extension here. But I really like the cam overs. And again, I just filed just the sharp tips off. I mean, they're still sharp. And they bite in the tree. And now I can wind this whole thing up, fold it over itself, and I can stuff it in my hunting coat pocket. And then when I get up in the tree, whether I'm in a saddle or another spot, I can pull it out, slap it on the tree, cam it over real quick. Then I can throw the shoulder on, then the arm on, and I'm hunting. So for me, I really like that a lot better. So this is the way I recommend. This is what works for me. Obviously, you do what works best for you. All right, so let's talk about the shoulder and what I think of this after a whole year. This was a concept that was great that they failed miserably at in the small details. If you go back and look, I already did a video on converting the bottom of this so that you don't lose this little T-screw that they send with the whole unit. These are all the parts of my trials and tribulations on this thing. The screw's so small I can't even find it in my pocket. They send you this short stubby thing right here, and I did a whole video on converting this. They send you this short stubby thing for what I converted this little button, which is just basically about 1.5 turns. You can turn this, lock it in, it all stays tight. Check out the video on that. This fourth arrow, I don't know what you're thinking, but this is a horrible, horrible design. The next big issue that I had with this thing, and I said this in multiple videos, is a stupid knob on the side. Now this is modified because, again, I gotta go back into my small parts pocket here. This right here is the tiny little knob. This thing right here, that's the tiny little knob for focused that they sent where I put that big knob. That's it. And it was so hard to get to screw on and attach that I ended up dug through all my GoPro parts, and I took this wrench that I had for some GoPro parts and I filed it out so I can make a wrench to fit this thing because I could not get it tight in the tree. No matter how much I torqued on it, I could not get it tight, and I ended up having the whole arm would drop and adjust. So I got so frustrated, about ready to throw this thing, and many times I wanted to throw it out of the tree. The concept is awesome. Who puts a little 1 inch across, is all the bigger that thing is, nut on that thing so you can't get it, especially in cold weather and you're wearing gloves and stuff. It was horrible. So I got on Amazon. I did not do a video on this, but I got on Amazon and I found the largest knobs I could find. And these are, I believe, like 2 or 2.25 inches across. They're 1/4 thread in here. Focus in. That brass insert there is a 1/4 thread. And when you actually look at this thing, there's a jam nut on here. And if you back that jam nut over to the side of the housing, then you can back the little knob off because it just had some Loctite on it. And then you can put these on and then back the jam nut over against the knob and then get it all tight. Now, this is something that when it's cold, I can get my hand on and I can actually really reef down on this and get it tight. There are times on really large diameter trees where the strap comes by, it does get a little narrow between the strap and the knob to get your fingers, but still, it was way, way better. And the knob they send you is 1 inch. This is like 2.25 inches or something like that. There's knobs in between, and I found these on Amazon. You can find them on eBay, McMaster-Carr, Granger, stuff like that. But you just want something that's got a 1/4 thread in there. And it's that simple. So when I made that change, that at that point was really a game changer for me. And I don't understand why they could not have done this. Again, I had to buy these in a 5-pack, and I think the 5-pack of knobs on Amazon cost me like 15 bucks. So really, you're talking $3 to $4 a knob versus that dinky little thing. I mean, come on, Fourth Arrow, seriously, for what you guys charge for this stuff, I would pay $20, $30 more for bigger bases, for wider straps, for knobs that I can grab onto, for little knobs down here I don't have to worry about them falling down 30 or 20 feet to the base of the tree. It's those little things that I get so aggravated with as an engineer. So once I made those changes, I ended up with a system that I really, really liked. I'm gonna assemble it here all on the tree as I would hunt it, just to show you. All right, so here it is all on the tree, and now it's pretty secure. Again, I used this larger cam over strap system that I got from out on the limb. Works really well. You just pull it tight. You got a big handle. You can break it over. Used my my knob replacement, so I didn't have to worry about dropping their little screw. And now I got my big handle here where I can loosen it up and I can adjust this wherever I need it. I can get it leveled up, and then I can really tighten that thing down. And with that little knob, you're never turning it as much as I just did right here. And I'm sure Fourth Arrow probably argue I'm putting too much torque on it. That's what it needs. It needs that torque to keep that thing from breaking over like that. I did one video, and I believe it was around 9 pounds or so. Even though this thing's rated for 8, it was right around 9 pounds where this thing started falling. So once I did that, you know, everything's great. So that's my kind of how I ran this. I ran it like this for the last half of my seasons. It took me the first half to go through the straps and the different bases and the knob change to get it to where I felt it was reasonable, acceptable. So anyway, so there it is. Am I going to run it next year? Yeah, probably. We'll see. I might try out some other brands as well. I've had some offers to try some other brands out, so maybe that'll happen. But I don't know if Fourth Arrow's making any changes for 2021, but man, I sure hope that somebody at Fourth Arrow watched these videos and they address this knob and that screw on the bottom at the bare minimum, and start considering some wider straps to hold this stuff to the tree. It's just a shame that something with so much potential, they just dropped the ball on such fundamental little things, in my opinion. But I know a lot of you have asked for this. I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say, hey, what did you end up thinking about the system? Because I'm looking for a new one for next year. I say it's a good system if you modify it. If you're willing to live with it the way it is, then you're going to have to make some compromises that personally I wasn't willing to live with. So with that, let's see. It's late January, so pretty much everybody's deer season for the most part is over with. I hope you all had a great year. Hopefully you'll check out some of my videos of my hunts. Check out the other videos on this whole system right here on how I modified it. Turkey seasons are right around the corner. It will be spring before we know it. Hopefully the whole world starts calming down and we get through all the garbage that we've gone through in the last year. And with that, God bless, stay safe, and it's a new day in the outdoors.